Hello and welcome to my art channel. My name's Heather and I'm a character designer for animation. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my design process for this little pig character. For some context, about a year and a half ago, I took a CGMA course with Taylor Crownbuell in which we took one of Aesop's fables and turned it into a lineup. I never got around to finishing my secondary characters and it's something that I've thought about ever since. So here we are, many moons later. I thought it would be fun to record some of the process. Here's what we're working with. This little pig character in various stages of completion. He's a woodcutter and he will eventually be contrasted by a big wolf. So I want him to be nice and chubby and stout, as most pig characters tend to be. We're gonna start with this little guy here. I am recording this a couple weeks after I drew all these. I don't remember why I only have the head finished, but anyway, here is the sketch of the body. This was the outfit I originally had, which was giving absolutely nothing. I took the simplicity of these characters a little bit too literally, and then eventually I reworked it and I got to this point. The design language for these characters is fairly simple overall. I need to keep in mind that level of complexity while I'm coming up with these outfits and shapes. I don't want things to look too simple and generic like that original sketch, but I also don't want like a ton of crazy stuff going on. We have these different layers in these chunky shapes with the belt and a little bit of thickness to the vest, this chunky axe. I think things are working pretty well together. There's enough going on to give him a sense of character and I quite like it. I really love how this brush looks, but there's something about drawing with it that is just not fun for me. I don't know if it's the way I draw and that it doesn't mesh well with me. Maybe that's the case. Different strokes for different folks, you know? I've cut out some of the struggle, but this area gave me a very hard time because there's so much going on in such a tiny space. We have his fingers, the cuff sleeve, the edge of his vest, and the belt. And all these lines were just converging on each other, and it was tangent central. So it took me some time of repositioning and redrawing and fighting the brush, but eventually I got to a place where it was clear and I don't think there are any glaring tangents, except that one where the belt is going right into his finger right now. That will be, I think, fixed later. I sure hope so. And if not, I'm gonna fix that right now. I've been toying with the idea of dot eyes for the secondary characters instead of regular eyes like the other ones, but as of drawing and as of recording, I'm still not sure. I think it might be a call that I make once I have a couple other characters done. Feel free to chime in if you have any opinions, but I still like both, so I'm not sure. I'm going to skip over the flatting process here because it's not my typical workflow. Usually I will have my base layer and I'll clip all the different elements to it, like the pants, shirt, belt, and all of my shading. I like the control that allows me, but for this one, I didn't care and I just went for it. It's a little bit destructive this way and I end up with a lot of stuff that I have to fix later, but I just wasn't in the mood. So don't mind my layers if you can see whatever's going on. I don't know. Okay, little side note. You're gonna see me flipping into grayscale an awful lot during this video. I'm doing this to check my tones, which is a pretty important part of my coloring process. If you're wondering how I'm doing it so quickly, it's because I'm using a proof setup. In Photoshop, this is typically set to CMYK by default. So to set it up to gray, you're gonna go proof setup, custom, and scroll down until you see dot gain 20%. I then saved mine as gray. Now the shortcut for this is Command or Control Y, which just so happens to be right next to the T key. So if you've ever ended up in CMYK and been confused, you probably hit it by accident. Like I'm gonna do at least 50 times in this video. As for picking colors, I brought over my main trio for reference. I think I ended up color picking a couple things and changing them just to keep them grounded within the same universe so I have the same level of warmth in the colors that I'm picking. I also eyeballed a bunch and made some tweaks as I went. Now that I'm shading, I'm alternating between one of Max's gouache brushes and this more textured brush. I believe it's in the new integrated Photoshop version, and if not, I think it's called Gouache A Go Go, or maybe it's Gouache Soft Opaque. It's one of the two. I block in these nice chunky shadows and eventually I just kind of feather them out and add some texture as well. Basically, I want everything to feel chunky and tangible. So the edge of his vest, the thickness to the belt, thickness to his fingers, everything's getting chubified. Now at the shading's done, I get to go back in and add those lived-in details. So we're gonna add some mud and dirt. I'm just plopping some colors on right now, and I'm gonna go back in and either draw over or erase little pieces so it's not just like a straight up blob of color. I want it to feel a little bit more natural. I do this for the outfit and I do this for the axe, just adding a little bit of rust and dirt, and I think it adds a lot. It's like when you see costumes in movies, and if it's too pristine, you don't buy it. And there's no way this little pig would be spick and span in this world. At the end, I like to color my lines for a softer look, and I'm just picking colors that are slightly darker than whatever color it's affecting. I can either do this by alpha locking my line art layer and coloring it directly, or creating a clipping mask over top. This one's mostly sketched out, but I didn't love how I initially positioned the axe, so I had it upright and it felt dangerous, I guess. I don't know, it just didn't feel right, so I redrew it facing inward a little bit, and I'm just lining that now. I swear there's some Disney guard or minion that has this general shape, but I can't recall it right now. I don't know if it's Sword in the Stone or Sleeping Beauty, but there's some sort of domed belly and I think a quad of color. I don't know if that rings a bell. Let me know if you know who I'm talking about, but that came to mind. I hate this one. I don't know what I did. It ended up looking very Simpsons-esque. I think the issue was that I was very tired and I just wanted to finish one more, but I should have gone to bed. So here we are. Hate it. Gonna redraw it. And at this point, I was just not feeling great about it, and I didn't really know what I wanted. I just knew that I wanted a pig that looked different from the pigs that I had already drawn. I'm gonna speed along through some of this because I think I redrew it a couple times, and unfortunately, I didn't record the process of sketching the one that we go with in the final. I think I just forgot to resume the recording. It's gonna go through some changes. I am constantly zooming in and out to compare it to what I've already drawn. So I start with one head shape and then I realize, I've already drawn a few that look like that. And that's why we end up with this weird like, butternut squash shape that, please note, I do not like it, but I'm just trying to figure stuff out on the fly and hoping that eventually I land on something that I like. Because as I said earlier, I had no plan. Now I'm liquefying it and then, ta-da, something totally different. Girl, what are you doing? Here we are, so much cuter. Obviously he went through a lot of changes and I finally feel good about him, comparatively, because I don't love the head yet, but overall he's headed in the right direction. He's a little bit too tubular for my liking at the moment. The width of his head is basically identical to the width of his body, and it just makes him look like a big bean or potato in a costume. It's not the most interesting shape, so I know that I want to play with his head a little bit more. Giving him a little bit of grass to sit on, I tend to draw characters in a void, so it's kind of nice having something to ground him a little bit. I play with his cheeks a little bit here. At first, I make one come out a little bit and I keep the backside smooth to contrast. It feels a little bit TV to me and I'm still not sold on it. So I then add some volume to both sides of his face and I like it a lot more. Adding that little bit of overlap onto his shoulders really tied everything together. We're gonna come back to color because I just wanted to get all of the drawing done. I had enough of this brush and I wanted to enjoy myself again. On to the second pass for this one. I have him with big eyes. I'm going to change that to dot eyes as I'm lining and then ultimately end up with the big eyes again in the end. I had fun drawing this little stump. I think it's a cute touch. Typically, I just draw characters standing and they tend to be like in this pose. So it was nice having these props and background elements for interaction and storytelling. I like the X shape that I had for the shoelace, but with the belly button being the same, it felt a little bit too repetitive. So I swapped them for these lines with circles on the end, and I repeated that element with the collar. Lining this one was a lot more enjoyable than the others. I think having such a clear second sketch helped me out a lot here. It was a lot more smooth. I think I also upped the flow. here the dot eyes make their appearance, and even as I'm recording, I do like those more. But as you can see, when 5 out of the 6 have the exact same eye treatment, it doesn't feel as exploratory. And now back to my favorite. As for colors, I didn't really know what I wanted. I think that's the theme for this character. Apart from knowing that he's a pig and he's going to be chubby, I was just kind of going with it. I end up landing on this color palette that I really love, and I keep flipping back to it. I had to cut out some of that because I also just stared at it for a couple minutes, and it hit me later that it's because it looked like Shrek. It was literally Shrek's outfit, and once I clued into that, I knew I couldn't keep it. I really do love the Shrek movies. They have a special place in my heart, but I could not have this pig cosplaying as Shrek. I also started toying with the idea of him being a different color pig. I really loved this brown look and then this gray look that comes after. But ultimately I decided that having him be a more stereotypical fairy tale pig color was the way that I should go for this. Keep in mind that he is going to be paired with a wolf later who is going to be gray, so I didn't want gray and gray. So someday I'm just going to have to draw a brown pig and a gray pig, or maybe even a spotted pig, because I think that would be very cute as well. Using those same brushes, I'm doing my big sweeps. I really like shading these characters. There's something about their simple round forms that makes it such a pleasant experience, especially after all that line art. I'm changing the color of his axe because I didn't like how close the color was to the rest of his outfit, and I think it was the same tone as his skin, so it blended a little bit too much for my liking. I had it in my head that it had to be a dark brown because all of the other ones were dark brown, and my visual library was only coming up with dark handles. But once I switched to this light color, I think it tied everything together, and then it gave me the idea of making him a blonde pig. He's got like 4 hairs, but they're going to be blonde hairs. I'm coloring the lines for a softer look. Typically I keep my inner lines or like detail lines a bit lighter in their color, just so not everything has the same level of importance. I start to color the grass that he's sitting on, and I'm slowly building it up with these different layers of yellows and greens. I want it to blend or fade out like a watercolor storybook, that sort of idea. So that's why I'm trying to give it this nice shape. Something I'm going to do soon to ground him a little bit better is take some of the grass color and bounce it into his shoes, pants, and hands, basically everything that's in contact with it. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of the pants into the belt, in the shirt, into the cheek, so on. It mimics real world lighting a little bit, and I think it looks really nice. Okay, I'm adding some blonde hair onto this pig, but I don't really love what I do here, so once I am done recording, I go back in and I change it a little bit and I give him some arm hair as well. Bye-bye to those eyes. The original ones I had were more widely spaced, but I didn't really like how it looked, so I opted for another set of squished together eyes. However, these ones are a little bit more oblong than the bottom rights, which are more rounded. I like these. I am pretty happy with all of them. My least favorite, if I had to choose, would be the top middle one. He is cute, but I think he's the weakest out of the bunch. He's just a little bit too simple, but he was an important part of the design process. He helped me re-familiarize myself with the design language for these characters and figure out the direction I wanted to head in with this character. I really do like the one underneath him. I think he's got a very cute face going on. The bottom left also has something fun about him. Top left and top right, yeah, not my favorites, but I still like aspects about them. I think they help round out the bunch of designs that I have here. But yeah, that bottom right one, it's the winner for me at the moment. Just like his shapes, and I think he's pretty cute. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. These were a lot of fun. I'm glad I recorded bits and pieces of the process. I'm currently editing my video on drawing poses for the cat character. That should be out fairly soon. So I'll see you then. Bye.